Exciting. That was exciting. We're back, and shortly after that stream failed miserably. Yeah, my ex little brother went live on the other channel and nicked a load of viewers. So yeah, well done, well done. Opportunism at its best. Well done. So there you go. Little tiny weakness in he jumps. Good evening, everyone. Again. Yeah. What can I say? That was a complete balls up, all on me, my mistake, my error, and I'm never using that platform again. But let's get back to talking about West Ham, shall we? Should we get back?
But you know what? Before you do that, Gal, let me just repeat what I said before that kind of balls up, right?
I'm kind of fuming at the moment.
Yeah, but so just relax. I think just so that everyone knows in the chat, right? So Gary spent a lot of time looking at all of the different kind of platforms that we can use to make this the best possible stream. Okay. But unfortunately, yeah, that was a bit of a crap one, wasn't it, Gal? Get your money back on that. It was really crap. But you live and learn, right? You live and learn. But this is still good though, you know. I still quite like Restream, to be honest with you. I do. So yeah,
this has been easy to use, and I think it's got a good look, and people like it, and it's simple, right? And the quality is good. I think that other one, I was taking it up that last little notch. It was like to the professional level. Audio and video was supposed to be absolutely top notch, and I've got the fastest broadband you can get, right? So it was supposed to work, and I've done some tests, and it didn't work. So I'm going to get my money back on that and can shove it up their arse. Let's talk about West Ham, shall we?
Yeah.
Thank you, people, for coming back. Those of you that have, and let's talk about as if nothing happened. Right, where did we get up to? We're talking about it all kind of fell apart in the second half, didn't it, Chris? I kind of missed a lot of what you were saying there because I was focusing on the technical problems.
Yeah, yeah, it did. It did fall apart in the second half, but as I said, I think both of us kind of agreed. And to be honest with you, from what I've read today and from what I've heard from a lot of West Ham fans and friends and what have you, everyone's really positive about this year. We're gutted to be out of the cup, of course we are, but you can only really take positives out of that. And again, going back to what I said, what Potter was doing in terms of how he set the team up, where he's playing players in positions that we haven't played them in before. Somerville playing on the right, Kudus in the 10, Scholes at left back. He could have taken the easy option, couldn't he? He could have easily taken the easy option and stopped those players. He could have played Creswell. He could have played, Somerville on the left, but he didn't. Yeah. He changed it all up. He could have played Kudus on the right, but no, he didn't do that. And that was so refreshing to see. And it got me feeling really, really optimistic for that game yesterday. And I genuinely, I've been really pessimistic about all of the games we've been playing recently, predicting loss after loss after loss. But I truly believed what we were going to win last night. I did. And actually, you know what? Two fingers up to the Villa, a lot, not all of them, but to a lot of the Villa fans that have been trolling me today, because we should have won that game. And if it wasn't for the likes of Fulkrug and Somerville going off, then I think we would have won that, mate. I genuinely do, So
yeah, we would have, because honestly, that team in the first half looked like a brilliant team, and I had this theory before that game that Lopetegui and to a certain extent Moyes before him, even though he had a broken team in the end that he built. I thought that. I thought the squad weren't that bad, and it just needed someone with intelligence and a bit of imagination to come in and consider the full picture, especially the youth players. Because when Scholes came on the other week for the first, it really lifted me, and I kind of eased off of Lopetegui after that game, if you remember, right? And it was kind of, I love seeing the young West Ham players play. And it really sort of put me on cloud nine a few weeks ago, and then he got dropped again, and he's fucking prize Wan-Bissaka in left hand side, and then yesterday it was kind of back to someone with a bit of imagination who can see the wood for the trees and actually look at Scholes and say, you know what, you're actually a decent player. You're ready for the first team, because I think he is ready for the first team. I think he proved that, and then he looks at someone like Somerville, who's really been getting bogged down on the left hand side. Because that's kind of his natural position. He was told to hug the left-hand side. You put him on the right-hand side and you give him even more responsibility, sort of to track back defensively and stuff like that. But it's simple instructions, clearly. Simple instructions that he can understand, that took massive advantage of his pace. He looked like the fastest player on the pitch yesterday. And even in that first half, Kudus, he was hitting top speed a couple of times. In fact, once when Kudus really let rip, Fulkrug tried to chase after him, And Fulkrug looked like he had some pace, and that is when he'd done his hamstring.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
It's a real shame to see that happen. I mean, again, it's typical West Ham, isn't one of our strikers going down like that. But look, I think it just, if anything, I'm also going to take the positives out of these injuries, because it, really even kind of further emphasises the need to get in replacements and reinforcements, because now we just simply can't, as we said just briefly earlier, we can't rely on Danny Ings. I think he's spent, Soufal's spent. We just need to get in good players that are ready to go, fit, not injury prone, fingers crossed, that can start making a difference. Because, well, look, we're being linked with a lot of good players. We know about a lot of these players we're being linked with right now.
Yeah, but I don't want to ever see, Chris, us sign end of career merchants again, right? People are just looking for one last payday. And I'm not saying Danny Ings is an honest professional and stuff like that, but he's finished. You can see that. Soufal, he's given us some great service, but apparently Moyes wants him, and Souček will buy then. See you later. He's finished in the Premier League. He'd do all right getting forward occasionally and get a decent cross in, but defensively, he only needs to come up against pace. Any pace, and he withdraws into the box. He just reverses, sticks it in reverse, and he's done that for over a season now.
Yeah, right? I think the only thing that you can rely on Soufal for when he goes forward, he has the opportunity, is he can swing in a decent cross. But that's you need a lot more from your fullbacks, just than someone who can swing in a cross. And the good thing, to your point, right? So you don't want us to sign all these kind of players that are nearing the end of their careers and everything else, but I guess, again, the refreshing thing to kind of see and read and hear in the press and everything else in the media is that most of the players that we're being linked with, mate, they are not players that they're ending their careers. They're not. They're actually young players. The only one that I don't even know if I'm 50-50 on him is Rashford. I don't want Rashford, mate. I don't. I think he's got an ego, and I just don't think we need that at West Ham. I know we spoke about it yesterday, and you said, but maybe like with the whole Lingard thing, he had a bit of an ego, came in, wanted to prove a point or whatever, but I don't know. I'm undecided with him, and he's on about 300 grand a week as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless they're going to subsidise it, there's no chance in hell we're going to be able to afford it. So I think actually the players we've been linked with, Gal, are players that are more for the future as opposed to just for the next 6 months for the rest of this season.
Yeah. By the way, I've left that comment out there. Yes, thank you all for coming back. Very nice of you. Very nice of you. From the dark side, maybe we look. I agree with that. Honestly, I don't really want Rashford, but if Rashford joins us, I'll support him. I'll get behind him.
Of course,
he's a good striker. He will have something to prove. He will be a big fish in a small pond. A bit of a Man United might be in that mindset where they don't want to make the same mistake twice, like they did with Lingard. But at the same time, I know for a fact, this is something that I know personally, is that Man United, the company who owns them, Ineos, is Ineos, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. They are on a massive cost-cutting drive, and so they're squeezing the last beat. And honestly, 300 grand a week, when you add it up over 52 weeks, that is a lot of money. That's a decent chunk of change. I can tell you now, if they could save most of those wages or half of those wages, they would save them. Whether they're giving them to a rival and subsidising half the wages, I'd rather pay half than the full whack. I'm telling you that now.
I look at it from another angle. Okay, so Man United, they've obviously got a new manager. When you get a new manager in, typically you think about a new manager bounce, not necessarily with the result straight away, but certainly with regards to the players' attitude and their work rate. And the fact that Rashford has not had a look in, you would think with a new manager in, he's going to think, you know what, I'm going to really work hard to get myself back into this team and be one of the star players. But he's not. So, we know that he can play in off the left, and he can play as a striker. He can do either or job. But they play, actually, I think they even give Xerxes more time than Rashford. I mean, what bloody hell does that tell you? I mean, I know Xerxes is more of a striker, apparently, and Rashford's surely a better player than him. He's bloody awful. So when you look at it from that angle, Man United don't have a great team. They've not got a great squad of players. They've got a few individuals that are decent, that are very good. Yeah. But aside from that, they haven't. So the fact that he isn't really getting a look in there tells me everything you need to know about his kind of mentality right now. So I don't want players like that. Just simply don't, mate. I'd rather just us look elsewhere. Honestly, not a good signing for me.
Yeah.
Open to being proved wrong, but if you look at it, it doesn't look like the sort of player we want to bring in. I'm sorry.
This is true, actually, from Ian. It shows how bad we must have had it when I'm so pleased about one game that was a loss and an exit from the cup, but been in a good mood all day. That's exactly the same as me. Until tonight, I've been in a good mood all day and last night, and that's because we saw something that we've wanted to see for seasons now. You know, a couple of seasons at the end of Moyes' reign, since before Prague, all the way through Lopetegui. How the bloody hell anyone decided to hire Lopetegui, I don't know. Based on what? As someone said in my comment, in my comment to my video the other day, he can barely speak English, and then the rumor was he interviews very well. How the hell did he interview well? Who interviewed him? Of course he didn't. That was a setup. Someone, it was a convenient body who was in the right agency at the right time. You know, the right contacts, the right little network. He was brought in for that reason. He wasn't brought in for reason for his football ability. Let's face it. Look at his history. He's really only stayed at Seville. He stayed at Seville for a decent amount of time, where probably definitely every player was Spanish speaking, you know, probably had his mindset, and he didn't build the team either, right? The guy, his record in spending money and building a team is he wastes a lot of money. I think he virtually sent Porto out of business, right, when he left them. If you read back on the history, that was one of the bad things that we found out about him. He's a busted, flushed guy. He's a fake football manager. I stick to it. And today you've got the Spanish. It's not Guillem Balaguer, some other Spanish journo, probably Guillem Balaguer's mate, saying, oh, the coach is not the problem at the club. And that is what Sullivan's alluding to. Sullivan is still trying to say, oh, it weren't Lopetegui. It weren't Lopetegui. It was Steiten. And, all yesterday, this morning, I've seen more and more repeat nonsense about Steiten. For God's sake, can't we have some peace and quiet? We've got a director of football. We've got a new coach. And Sullivan is still trying to drive a division between the two because he doesn't want Steiten there. That, for him, I think, is above West Ham doing well. It's more important than West Ham doing well is that he gets rid of Steiten. But he can't sack him, sadly. Thank you for smashing the light, Andy. And anybody else, if you want to, I know it's not the sort of show given the technical performances of the previous show. But yeah, would appreciate it if you give it a like. That'd be very nice of you. It is weird. It is a bloody weird feeling, but it's easily explainable. You know, we started to get disengaged to the point where we're just frustrated and fucking and blinding about the Moyes thing. It was just boring and dull, but we stayed up. With Lopetegui, honestly, there was nothing to cling on to, literally nothing to cling on to. And I've never seen such apathy set in across the West Ham fan base. All the people, even the likes of Dodsey, who's a diehard, right? He's a diehard. He was given up as well. And that's 6 months into a new reign. It just shows how useless that bloke was. Celso Foul. Now, today, Chris, I've seen lots of links of players that we don't necessarily want going out of the club. All the right decisions. It's been Soufal. Souček, I dearly love Souček and Soufal as men. I think they've been fantastic for us. They've given us great service. Never let us down. Always tried their hardest. But Soufal, at the end of his career, is not a very good footballer anymore. He's not Premier League quality. Souček, he is Premier League quality, but I don't think he'll fit in a Potter team. And I think we saw that last night when he tries to do something a little bit outside of his scope, like play a ball from attacking midfield late in the game. It's like he's got lead boots on. He's got no... Moyes wants him. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. I would lay money, good money, on David Moyes having Souček in his squad by the end of the month. I'd be surprised if even David Moyes would go for Soufal unless it's a kind of who's that Man United player that he spunk money on originally? The guy that the guy that came in at West Ham early days. I think his first time around. He came in. He had a good personality, good for the dressing room. Do you remember? It was like it was either a left back or a right back. Someone would tell me in the chat. But he came in and hardly played a game. Right? He hardly played a game.
What, Man United? From Man United
yes,
to West Ham?
Yeah, on loan. On loan.
When was that?
I think it was his first day. I could see his face, but I can't say his name. Right? I can't get his name. Someone in chat tell me who that is. Who that is? Right? He was a. Oh dear. He came in. He barely played a game. We paid him a fortune. It was on the basis of him being good for the dressing room at David Moyes' Man United.
I know you're talking about. Mr. I love this game.
Yes,
fullback,
yes,
yeah? What's his
that's
name?
him.
Yeah.
No, Evra. Yes, there you go. There you go. Complete waste of time. Now, I know that Moyes said a similar thing about Soufal. Great for change room trainer. He might be the one that encourages everybody to do the right thing for David Moyes. Yeah. So yeah, if they can do that, if we can get rid of them two, if we can get rid of Danny Ings, because the last night was proof, absolute proof that.
I'm going to say one thing, though, Gareth. I agree with you about we need to get rid of. Okay, so say we need to. Okay, it'd be good to get rid of potentially Souček, Soufal, Danny Ings. However, we cannot get rid of any of those players until we get replacements in, because the worst thing is we rely on them right now. Not maybe so much Soufal, but we're going to rely on Ings if we've got no other striker options, unless we place, I don't know, a combination of, Kudus up front or Guilherme up front or whatever it's going to be, because we have nothing there. So we need to make sure we get replacements in, and we know we're going to sign people in sharpish, like the deals are practically done before we let go of them, because look, we know we lack, power in midfield, right? So if we not that Souček's a powerful midfielder, he's not, but he is a midfielder nevertheless. So we can't afford to let go of him until we bring more players in. But I would agree with you. For me, those three have got to be three of the players first out the door. They have to be. But we need to get replacements in, Soufal's done. He is so far done now. I can't watch him anymore.
I felt so sorry for Füllkrug yesterday, because for the first time this season, he looked fit and mobile and playing in a team that was going to give him the ball. He had players playing behind him that was going to give him service. He was loving it. And that's why he went off on that sprint. He went off on a sprint, tried to catch Kudus. And then he's probably going to be out for the rest of the season now, poor sod. I mean, it's just not made for him, this move, is it? When we scored that goal afterwards, he walked back to the halfway line with his arm round Somerville, like chatting in his ear and stuff like that. He comes across a really nice bloke, Apparently,
I feel gutted for him.
Yeah,
I feel
gutted
for him, because you could see he looked absolutely devastated when he went down. He did. He looked totally devastated, and it's so disappointing to see that happen, because he's just starting to probably see a bit of form. We're starting to see a bit of form in him, and it's the last thing we need. But as I said again, it does emphasise the fact of get someone in because we need it badly.
There are certain players. I know Mavropanos was at fault for both goals, but don't forget who was on the pitch as well next to him. It was Soufal. And before Soufal came onto the pitch, Mavropanos actually looked all right. We started, and I think obviously Mavropanos, when we conceded one goal, his bum went, right. He just lost it completely, as did Soufal. So I don't know.
Yeah, but we can't have players like that, though, Gal, because I know what you mean. With Mavropanos, he can look like he's playing okay for a portion of the game. One mistake, suddenly he's gone. We need players that can stay focused throughout that game and not put stupid rash challenges in, or dive into challenges that he knows he's not going to win, whatever. And he does that way too much. So for me, he makes one mistake too many in every single game. So we need to replace him, Gal. We have to replace him. And I said it the other day, and I'm sticking to this. We need a spine in that team again. We do, because we don't have one, in my opinion. We don't. I don't even think Kilman is part of that spine for me. He's a good defender, but he's also been a bit shaky. And that may be because he's playing with Mavropanos, that his confidence drops a bit, because he's thinking, shit, look who I've got next to me. But even so, we need to get a strong, solid centre back in. I'm hoping it's Todibo. So maybe he is going to be part of that spine. But midfield, we need that box-to-box midfielder. We need that desperately, and we need a striker. And arguably, we need a goalkeeper as well long-term. So that, straight down the line, that's the spine of a team that we're missing, which is crucial. We get that right. 3 or 4 signings, Gal, can turn this team around, because we've got enough power. We've got enough power in certain key positions, particularly on the wing. From an attacking perspective, aside from a striker, we've got some really good flair players. Paqueta, I think he's going to start coming good. And he was good yesterday, by the way. Got to give him some credit. I thought he was exceptional in the first half. He petered out a bit in the second half. He pissed me off a few times, particularly with that corner that got swung in that shouldn't have been. How he went down, I saw a close-up of that. I don't know what he was playing.
He was partly responsible,
Chris.
He was partly responsible for that goal.
He's got to stop doing that, though, Gal, because it's so frustrating. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes when you see him do it and he gets away with it, you're like, because it's. Do you know what I mean? It's good. But then when he doesn't get away, it's too much. Sometimes I want to see him get up, play to the whistle, play to the bloody whistle.
He's not very good at it. He's not very good at it. As he gets more tired, he gets worse at it. So by the end of the game, he's flagging. He did cover a lot of ground, and I've got to say, he worked so hard to look after Skulls down that side. It was a really good relationship they had. He ran his legs off, and he was brilliant in the first half. But then when the team just started falling to pieces, we lost our shape. We weren't compact anymore. We were being torn apart. And Nana was winning the midfield battle. Alvarez started looking like he was blowing out of his arse. Souček, I don't know what he was doing in the end. It just all went wrong. I think he learned a lot about the players he's inherited yesterday. I don't think he'll be put in. I'd be very surprised if he ever puts Soufal on the pitch again. I think there are...
And by the way, that's a plus, Gary. That's a real plus. If you want to talk about positives, the fact that he had to utilise some of those players that probably wouldn't have been playing had Füllkrug not got injured. Had Summerville not, because I think someone said any update on Summerville, I think he just felt his hamstring go, didn't he, a little bit? But I don't think it's as severe as it should. So I think he's going to be okay. His one's not severe, but I think the one with Füllkrug, funnily enough, actually, we were talking about Füllkrug potentially being sold this window, right? That's not going to happen now because no one's going to sign an injured striker, are they? So he's going to stick with us.
We're going to come back and talk about this because we were listening on the way home to Carlton Cole. And I think there was one interesting thing that he said that was, might make people a little bit happy. I think that certain players are finished physically, right? Soufal, Ings, Souček just ain't got the physical makeup or the brain to do it, right? I've got me doubts about Mavropanos, but Mavropanos can be really, really good, and then he can lose it, and it can be really, really bad. So I just wonder whether he's got the raw materials because he's young, whether he's got the raw materials for Graham Potter to mould him into something. So I'm not giving up on Mavropanos yet, but I don't want to see him playing in that system where he's horribly exposed. You see what I'm saying? Ideally, it'd be part of a free or something like that. But I'd like to see Graham Potter. He's had a chance to look at a couple of them now. He's clearly made his mind up about some of them already. He's not good enough. It's embarrassing that we've got Danny Ings that we paid 18 million quid for. He's on 125 grand a week. And I think is he out of contract this summer or has he still got another year to go? I mean, I think he's still got another year to go, believe it or not. He was no good to us when we bought him. All he did was score those couple of goals against Forest, who were useless at the time, right? He's done nothing. He's done nothing since he's been here.
Well, do you know what? Right,
he got an equaliser against Fulham.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, he got the equaliser against Fulham, but actually, if you go back for, I guess, the first kind of third of the season, if you look at the amount of minutes that he played versus the amount of minutes our other strikers played, he was actually the most effective striker we had. That's the crazy thing about it. He was in terms of his impact. Yeah. But I agree with you. He is done. I'm not saying he's the answer. Of course he's not. He is done. Absolutely. The only way you can use Ings if he's at West Ham this season, the only way you're going to want to use Ings, if you have to, is by him coming on as an impact sub, and when you're going to get balls to feet. So he's kind of going to be that fox in the box in around the 6-yard kind of area. That's where he's effective. If you're not going to do that, there's no point in having him.
He's lost that part of his game. He doesn't finish anymore. So what's the point in him? James, thanks for posting this because I haven't seen that tweet from Sean Whetstone, but he's been shit stirring all week. And you remember I said in that video the other day, I said Sullivan can't sack him. He's just trying to put enough shit out there to drag down his reputation and get him to quit. Well, that kind of proves it, doesn't it? He is not
embarrassing, to be honest.
Sullivan has not got West Ham's best interests at heart. I mean, we're lucky that Brady's actually put a word in for a decent manager, right? I ain't saying thank you for Brady, by the way. I'm just saying every now and then she's going to do something, right? And she does earn over £1 million a year, and I think hopefully she's contributed a little bit to a bit of success, maybe. But what he's trying to do in the meantime is do what he's done with the last two managers and drive a divide between the latest bloke and Steidten. It's maddening. He's going to carry on doing this until one day Steidten says, I've had enough, or Kretinsky puts him out of his misery, Sullivan. I mean, that can't come soon enough for me. He's a scheming git, and I don't know what the problem is. I'm guessing that he doesn't want people digging into his transfer business with his favourite agent. Only a guess. Only a hunch. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about David Sullivan because it depresses me and I'm in a good mood. I don't want to be doing that.
No more journeyman, Andy Armitt. No more journeyman at all. I don't want to ever see a player like that that's at the end of their career anymore, unless it's fucking Messi or something like that. I don't want to see Arsenal's rejects, or especially Villa's rejects. What are we doing there?
Well,
there was other people available for 18 million. We could have spent that 18 million so much better, couldn't we?
Yeah. Well, look, what's done is done. Yeah, we can only look forward rather than kind of look back, right? So, but this comment here, right, going Chris, presuming you both feel we need a centre forward, which clearly we do, right? Can I ask you a realistic preference for the position, who it would be, right? So, if you look at the strikers we're being linked with right now, so we're being linked with a ton of midfielders. We know who they are, right? Chukwuemeka, I think we're looking at Dewberry Hall as well at Chelsea. So there's a couple of Chelsea players. There's also their left back for some strange reason. I don't know why we're looking at Chilwell. I don't, because he's injury prone. Don't really want him. In truth, I don't. So strikers. Evan Ferguson, realistic option. I don't want him. I've told you my opinion on him because I'm worried. I think he's injured again, Gal. I think he is. And I don't want to get another player in that I think potentially is going to get in. We need to get someone that we know, but ideally he's going to stay fit for the rest of this season and have some form of impact. With Ferguson, he's still trying to find his feet. He's consistently injured.
We can't get Ferguson. We cannot get Ferguson. Do not buy injury-prone players at all. Yeah.
Okay, so let's rule him out, right? Let's rule him out for a second, right? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I personally don't want him, even though I think he has got talent, right? You look at Marcus Rashford. I don't want him either. Too expensive, too much of an ego. And unless he completely changes his mindset or whatever, then I don't want him. And now there's a couple of other strikers that we've been linked with as well. There's a guy at Marseille who apparently Bournemouth also want called Wahi. I think his name's Wahi, 22-year-old striker, right? Now this is, I don't know a great deal about this guy, but what you can say about this is that you're talking about players that are at the right age that potentially are going to get better, they're going to grow, develop with the club. Apart from him, there's Igor Jesus or Jesus. I don't know how you pronounce his name. He's the Brazilian striker we spoke about. Yeah, also at a decent age. And then the other two that for me look quite interesting are Kolo Muani at PSG, because I think he's a good striker. I've seen him play. Again, right age, potentially could offer us a bit more pace up front. And the other, for me, which is standout, is Jonathan David. And honestly, we should be doing everything we can, in my opinion, to get him, because his contract runs out in the summer. Every man and his dog is going to want to sign Jonathan David, right? So let's go in now and put some money down on him now. Just, do you know what I mean? Negate all of those other clubs that are going to want him, because they will. So I want Jonathan David. He, for me, would be our key number one target. No one else up front. He would be the number one pick for me. There's another one. There was a bit of noise around the guy at Nottingham Forest, the striker at Forest as well. Whose name completely escapes me now.
But I don't know. By the way, can I just say, Mark? We went up to Villa yesterday. Chris took his son. I took one of my sons, Ross, up there. Who you got season tickets? We got season tickets with us at London Stadium, and they were really enthusiastic about going, weren't they? Just same as us. Yeah, beautiful. It was nice, mate. It was nice to have those types of conversations and that feel before going to a game, because it's been non-existent this season, hasn't it? Yeah. Go on, carry on. What were you saying? I broke you. No, Jonathan David. Look, I mean, Andy's put in here. Apparently, look, okay, Jonathan David from Lille. Apparently, they want 10 million plus agent fees out of contract. No, look, come on, mate. £10 million, 10 million quid for Jonathan David is an absolute. Yeah, but Chris, what? Forget about the contract. No. Listen, what happens in this situation? What happens? That excuse of the agents being greedy, that's what they used with Jonathan David last time. What that means is Will Salthouse can't position himself in the middle of the deal and get rid of the people, the intermediaries who are already there, the ones that have been with him his whole career and helped him develop and everything else, right? So that's code speak for we can't get what we want out of the deal, maybe the other player, the one I was mentioning just now, the one at Forest, is Awoniyi, Taiwo Awoniyi, right? So again, he's not prolific, but he actually offers something very similar to what Antonio does, because he's a big lad. He's physical, he's fast, he can knock defenders about, right? So he's another player that potentially could be an option, because I think Chris Wood, now he's coming back from fitness as well, he's probably going to regain his place for 1 year. I think he started today, but he could be an option for us as well. But Jonathan David, though, Gal, I know what you're saying about all these agents and Sullivan getting involved and Will Salthouse and all this bollocks, but I'm sorry, we've got to do everything we can to get him. It's Chris, such a critical. I would love to believe that we would. I'd love to believe it, but if he's done what he's done and he said hands off, he did that last January as well. Right, he said to Tim, "Fuck off, me and Moyes are dealing with this, right?" Or me and Will Salthouse, and they went and done the deal selling Pablo Fornals and bought in what's his name, Calvin Phillips. Well, they've said the same this January as well. So it's obviously something that's going to come around like Christmas every year. In January, they're going to find a reason why Steiner has got to be put on the apparent naughty step while they're doing some serious reputational damage. And so it's going to be a sort out Sullivan thing. They're going to go out and look, that could work one of two ways. It could be a Maxwell Cornet or it could be a Jimmy Somerville. Yeah, it could be one. It could be one or t'other, or Danny Ings maybe. Yeah, because that was a Sullivan signing as well. Believe it or not, so was Vlasic.
Gary,
yeah,
I would like to think though that with Tim still there, that he would be able to pull the strings to make that deal happen. You know, I know what you're saying about all the links with the agents and, you know, Will Salthouse and Sully's best mate and all that bollocks. But I truly would like to believe that Stein can make it happen, because we spoke about this the other day. Some of the players that we've signed, you know, that I think Tim Stein should take a great deal of credit for, the likes of Kudus, the likes of Alvarez, players that have added a lot of value to the team. They would not have happened without Tim Stein. I mean, we can identify them. It's like we said the other day. You know, it's like a sales opportunity. You can see the opportunity, but unless you close it, and Tim's the guy that will close it. So I do think that Tim, if we really want, you know, Jonathan David, and obviously Potter wants Jonathan David, then I would like to think there's enough clout there to say, yeah, we can go out and make it happen.
It is Ings' last year. It's got to be last year, thank God. Right, so we might get a couple of quid for him. Who knows? Might get 50 bob. Rashford, how the bloody hell is Rashford on 375,000 quid a week? I mean, he's just an average striker. How the fuck is he on that money? It's immoral. It's unethical, right, to pay someone like that much money. He's average. I don't know. I don't know. Thought embarrassed things. So did I. He was trying his heart out, right? His little legs were pumping up and down. He was really trying, but he just ain't got it anymore. And that's what happens. He had a great career. You come to the point where you're just not mobile anymore, right? It is sad. Again, nothing against Danny Ings. He's apparently a really nice bloke, great in the thing and everything, around the squad and everything else. But yeah, we paid way too much for him, and that deal was done by Sullivan. Well done, Sullivan.
Good point here as well from Don. Yeah, if Ferguson is worth 60 million, why are they loaning him out? I said the same thing, because, you know, again, if you look at what Brighton have got, they've got obviously the Brazilian lad up front, and then they've got Danny Welbeck as he's, you know, kind of understudy. Obviously, he's getting a bit old, but what's Welbeck? He must be kind of in his 30s now. So why would you want to loan out Evan Ferguson?
I don't know. I don't know why you would, and I don't know why. I mean, he's injured at the moment, but you would have thought that he would have been the first choice ahead Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck's sitting on the bench, right? This hurt me a little bit earlier. I must admit, it's like the final surprise from David Moyes, isn't it? Martin Redding. I thought Divin Obama did well for City earlier. I mean, look, in brackets, it was against Salford, right?
Exactly.
So he better hope he's going to look good against Salford, and he scored one goal. Someone else scored a hat trick, but nonetheless, he scored for Man City. The other players seemed to be quite happy for him. He seemed to have some good little relationships there. They're all pleased for him. So I don't know what he'll do in the Premier League, but I guarantee one thing, that is Pep Guardiola, if he does use him to some extent, he'll use him better than David Moyes, who gave the guy no chance.
Well, I wish, Gal, that we would have got rid of Danny Ings and kept Mubama. I'm not necessarily saying that I think Mubama is going to be like a world beater. I don't think he is in truth. I don't. But I also think that he would have been a better option coming off the bench, or if we've got an injury crisis, getting him in the team would have been a much better option. I don't
like this. Wally is like Mason Greenwood with a few allegations hanging around his neck. Oh, we don't want that.
Well, you know, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know anything about that.
I'm pretty sure there's a grapevine that tell you the strength of it, right?
Maybe.
Completely agree. Chris David is the man we need. Oh, look, and I'm totally on board with that. He's definitely the man we need. He's at his peak. He's a proven striker. He's top quality. But unless certain people can get their piece of the pie out of it, it won't happen. I'm telling you now. You know, how many deals have fallen through because it's been reported back that the agents were too greedy? It's been about, in the last couple of years, I think since Tim got here, actually, it's been about 4 or 5.
Yeah, but not as many since Tim's been here, though, Gal. Not as many.
No.
That's my hope that I've got.
Yeah, well, maybe. And look, I don't know. What I'd like to know really is why Tim is staying. Because if you're in a job where you're senior, your bloke you're working for effectively, even though he's starting, he's a Krasinski's bloke. If someone's just putting out in the media, and he's got easy access to the media starting, and now he's getting it in Spanish media as well, that you're shit, and this is why you're shit. you know, and they're dragging his reputation through the mud day in, day out. And then even today, they're blatant enough to say, you know, because if Sean says it, you know who it comes from. Senior source, we know the senior sources, right? He said he hopes he leaves. Well, yeah, that because he can't sack him. It ain't even about, you know, I'm sure some of it is about giving him a payoff, but it ain't even really about that. It's because he can't sack him because he's Kretinsky's bloke. If he does end up walking, it's constructive dismissal, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, there's no more constructive dismissal than what's gone on there. I mean, that is really they've dragged his reputation through the mud when he's done much more right than wrong. I don't think, for instance, Fulkrug, he ain't the striker that we wanted, but he's ended. But let's look at this wood for the trees. He's paid about 10 million too much for him. It's hardly the worst thing in the world. When you look back at the history, where paid 30 million for Vlasic, where Moyes was allowed to give Anderson away for fuck all, where he sold Haller at cut price, right? So much money we've spunked over the years, and then so Tim's no good because he's wasted about 10 million starting. We ain't paid 25 million for Guillermo. Don't worry about that. That is the total price of the deal. If he ends up being a first team player, a first team regular, plays for Brazil, wins a World Cup, we might pay 25 million. I guarantee we paid about 7 to 10 up front. So again, look at that and say, well, it's for a young talent. We could have bought a young British talent who's not ready for the first team either. So if we so let's say he's wasted another 10. So he's wasted 20. He didn't waste money on Todibo. He actually got him for a good price. If he fulfills his potential, which he should, if he's allowed to, he'll be worth a lot more, like Kudus. And like Alvarez was before Moyes got hold of him and fell out with him, and then Lopetegui fell out with him. Funny how they always fall out with the signings of Tim Stein, isn't it? It's very funny that. There's more to this than meets the eye. Much, much more to this than meets the eye. I just hope that Graham Potter is the honest broker that he comes across as, and he don't play these fucking games.
Well, like I always say, only time will tell.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the rest of this month to see what happens in the transfer window. I think this comment you had up just now from Danny. Yeah, good to see you yesterday, Danny. By the way, mate.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if you were. I don't think you were the guy stealing donuts, were you, in the service station? It was someone else. But yeah, other clubs have put the prices up for strikers. Yeah, I mean they always do it though in the January transfer window, don't they? That's the thing. It's the worst time to try and buy players is the January transfer window because they know all the desperate clubs come out trying to sign X, Y, and Z players. So they think, well, you know what, we can hike the price up. It happens all the time. But I do think though the Jonathan David one's a bit of a different situation purely because he is out of contract. You know, he is out of contract, so they can't be asking for too much. They can't. Because Jonathan David just dig his heels and say, you know, I'm going to wait 6 months and you're going to sod all. So either you let me go now and get a bit of bunts for it or you don't. Yeah. So it kind of depends what kind of clubs you're dealing with and what situation the striker is in at their current club as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a lot of options out there. And I'm sure they're doing their homework around strikers that we maybe are not even aware of as well. You know, I think Damien's put one down here now. One that we are aware of is this guy here. Latte from Borough. We've spoken about him on a few times. I've seen him play. Quite like him. He's quite dynamic. He's fast. You know, he's a bit of a nuisance for defenders. I mean, what has he got? A goal? Was it a goal every other game? Yeah, possibly. I don't know if he's a striker though.
He's a winger come striker. He can play both.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of those types of players. So really, do we want that or do we want an out-and-out number 9? For me, out-and-out number 9. But yeah, I do quite like him.
I think we should have at least one out-and-out number 9, right? We should. I think.
Like to think.
Yeah. Thanks for the compliments. Greatly received. Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate that. We're doing our best. In between technology problems, we're doing our best. But
can I just add to that as well? Right. I think and fair. I don't usually say nice things to you, Gary, but I will say one thing is that you set this. You set this channel up right on the provision of. We both love West Ham. You know, I jumped on it because we talk about West Ham all the time, even before I jumped on the channel. This is not in any way, shape, or form about monetization or anything like that.
Far from it.
Completely the opposite. Seriously, it's all about us talking about West Ham, and we enjoy talking about West Ham. And if other people like it as well, then that's great. But yeah, we're not in it for anything. If anything, it costs.
It did the last couple of months, right? It did. So we just suddenly realised, oh fucking hell, we better focus on putting out regular content and doing something, growing the platforms more strategically, which is what we've been doing, and getting getting it out there to a wider audience, and that's worked really, really well because, we don't want to be subservient to YouTube. We want to have a broad appeal, and we want to do some different stuff as well. And we've got a lot in the pipeline. But what you have to do when you start a channel is first of all get the engine running and get out the regular content in the middle of the season that covers all of the different things that happen. And we plan to do loads of transfer shows, and suddenly the manager changes, so it all goes up in the air. But we've kept on top of it this week because we're a bit more organised now. And now I know what technology platform we're going to use. I think we know where we're going forward.
No one you know around. What, Gal, though, there are ways, as you know better than me, a way you can monetize this stuff, but it's never even been in our DNA.
No. I mean,
not once.
Listen, it's easy to just ask for members, do a membership scheme and do Patreon and stuff like that. But I said at the beginning, it wouldn't feel right. Listen, if I was out of work and I needed the money to run it and make sure that we were keeping our heads above water, and then we'd do something like that, I'm sure. But honestly, I don't.
Well, mate, I find it quite like don't get me wrong, I understand the need for some channels to do that. I do, and I respect it absolutely. But I also think in some respects, when you do get some channels that are bashing on about, oh, you know what, concessions and how can the club be doing this and taking the piss out of fans. We do this for free. Some channels don't, right? I'm not saying it's completely wrong. I do understand and I respect why some channels do it, because they do that for a living, right? I get that. But there are some channels out there that it's all about the money.
Well, there are certain channels that don't do it for a living. They do it for extra income, and the ones that do it for a living, I mean, there's some we know of that are honest brokers who put out
very
quality
good,
content.
and they're very good.
Absolutely. And that takes up time, right? That takes up time. So anyway, look, enough of that crap. We're gonna stick to our guns. The original principles of this channel was we weren't going to start any bloody memberships schemes or have any paywalls, put anything behind there or anything else. We just come out with quality content targeted towards West Ham fans, whether you're in the ground or away from the ground, but to treat them both the same. To represent. So anyway, Mbappe is in the last 6 months of his contract. Of course he is.
Bring him in. How can he be the last 6 months of his contract? How's that possible? He only just went to Real Madrid at the start of the season.
No, it is. Rex, I'd just like to pull you up on this. The Thinking Man and Thinking Woman's West Ham channel. But, we like both on this platform.
We use all pronouns.
And it is a fan channel, not a living, and it just feel a bit weird. It just feel a bit weird earning money out of again, we don't need to make money out of this, right? And not being flash. We don't need to. We're all right. And I'm sure one day we'll sell merchandise or whatever else when we eventually find ourselves a path. But that's the most we'll do. We do something that's like completely optional and not tied to content, right? Where's the neon Bobby Moore sign gone? It's unplugged next to me. I think Chris is going to have it in his shed, right?
You said that, but I've got a feeling it fell down and nearly electrocuted you.
It's over there. But the thing is, I bought this little light box here because balancing out I've changed all the lighting around in the room and I ain't finished yet. I'm still playing with it, but it's actually started to look quite good, different angle and stuff like that. And balancing out the lights when you've got lots of different lighting effects, especially that neon sign, it'd be all right in Chris's place because he's not in the dark. But when you're in the dark and you've got a neon sign in the back, it's very difficult to balance out other lights with it. It's almost great because the slightest bit of light, the camera lens just gets drawn to it like a magnet. So and there's nothing I like more than speaking about. This is my train of thought. I love speaking about West Ham. The reason you can't do this channel with me is because I found myself talking to you about West Ham about 3 or 4 times a week for about an hour, right? Or a couple of hours sometimes, just talking about West Ham because it's fun talking about West Ham. And if I did that, where I turned it into a job, it wouldn't be fun anymore for me. I think I'd get sick of West Ham, and it's my favourite. It's my favourite pastime. It always has been. I call it a pastime. It's my passion, right?
It was never my intention to do this really with you anyway. I think it was like jump on the first one and just have a bit of fun, and then Suddenly it's become a regular thing, but I enjoy it. And it's just purely out of enjoyment, us talking about. The only difference is we're having conversations like we had on the phone, except for now I can actually see you and see a bit of a chat on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and it's nice to have other people in the conversation as well, isn't it? That's why,
Absolutely.
When we're talking about, come and do a live show, because I said the live shows are much easier, because they are, right? When you're actually just doing a pre-record to a camera, it's a little bit, to start with, it's a little bit daunting when you're only you in a room. But when you actually got an audience of people who are contributing, I actually did a live show on Claret and Booze once where I was dropped in it. I don't know what it was, but we did a show all night, and there was a cup draw, and it was supposed to be on in about 15 minutes time. And so Nick went off and left me. I said I'd do it. I covered a cup draw. The cup draw went on about an hour and a half later. And so I'd done a show, and then I was there by myself for an hour and a half, just talking to the people in the chat. And I'll tell you what, it was really good because it was completely quiet in my headset, right? So it's all I was doing was literally talking to people in the chat, and it just flew by. I don't know. I didn't miss a beat in that show. Very good. Very good.
No, I love it. I love all these chats coming up and everyone joining in, because that's what West Ham is about. Talking about. I mean, that's what one of the big enjoyment factors is talking to other supporters about West Ham. I love it.
The donut man. Is this Cockney Boy 76?
I don't know.
Cockney Boy 76. Were you last seen holding 12 Dunkin' Donuts? I think you were.
12, holding 12, but another 12 in his boot, wasn't it?
Another 24. Because it was a free for all, didn't it?
Yeah.
This is interesting. We could recall Aguerd at the end of the season.
Yeah, I read that. Apparently, he's looking at the situation with Potter. I wouldn't be opposed to that idea at all, because we need strength there, don't we? We do need some more options.
I would love that if he came back and then he was one of the best defenders in the Premier League. Could you imagine it? Imagine if we play Everton and we've got Aguerd in the side and a couple of kids, a sprinkling of kids who we've rejected, and we go up there and Potter does his usual and completely tears Moyes a new one.
Well, yeah, a really interesting point about Aguerd, because I know Moyes didn't really fancy him as a player and they had a bit of a falling out, but the one thing that Aguerd's got that we really lack, pace. Yeah. He was our paciest defender, wasn't he? Our paciest defender. I can think of that time when we were playing Newcastle and he was running back and made that last-ditch tackle. I don't know how he did it. You wouldn't see one of our current defenders being able to do that. They just do not have the pace. So I would love to see him come back. Yeah. He's certainly a better option than Mavropanos. Let's be honest. He's a much, much better defender than Mavropanos.
Yeah, it was always known that Aguerd was unsuited to the style of defending he had to do at West Ham. But he ain't going to have to do that style of defending.
Exactly, mate. Which is why it could be a really good option to bring back if he wants to come back.
How much money do you think will come in and be available to spend this window? Well, I think we'll get about, what do you reckon, 15, 18 for Souček? Off of Everton, because he's going to want him, 29? Right? So we can name our price, and it's January. And they're close to the relegation zone, so they're going to need to spend, right, to get, if they want Souček, you have to pay for him.
I think you're going to get 20 million for Souček. I think you will get 20 mil for him, because he's still got some sell-on value and everything else. He's at a relatively decent age. Coufal, you'd probably be lucky if you bet 2 million for him.
No, he's a proven Premier League striker. I'd be asking Moyes for at least 15.5 million for Coufal.
Coufal?
Definitely. And then
15 million for Coufal.
Yeah. Thought your favourite interest was Sheds? No. Yeah, well, Sheds. Sitting in Sheds talking about football, Lawrence. That's what it is. I was cheered me up. I started this stream in a foul mood. I'm in a better mood now. Thank you to you all. Fans were great last night. You got unlucky. Oh, we got a villain in here. Ryan, I've got to pull you up on something, right? Right, today, all over, because we've been going multiple platforms on this stuff. Today, on TikTok especially, my God, there's been some trolls on there, isn't there, Chris? It's been like playground stuff,
it's ridiculous, mate. I had loads that didn't even come up. Like, there were loads of hidden comments on TikTok.
But what about,
as well.
What about coming out of the ground last night? Yeah. I got attacked, didn't I? I got attacked.
Well, you didn't get attacked. Come on, I think you were biting back. I told you to stop biting back. There's no point.
I couldn't help it, Chris. The guy was winding me up. There was no way I was going to leave that. It was this guy came up behind me and then he's talking in me bloody face about, I don't know, a couple of feet away, pissed up. It's about 22 or something. So I thought, I don't want to argue with you anyway, but he's sort of saying, it's Potter out now, is it? It's Potter out now, is it? He's one of these sneery, dirty fuckers. And Yeah, so I started just antagonising him back until he pissed off. I was
quite
hoping to get
funny.
a response, but I didn't
watching
get
the
a
show.
response, because you know.
No, it's all nonsense, mate. The thing is, you got to learn, mate. You're never gonna win an argument with an idiot,
you're not,
and he was an idiot.
You're not,
but to be fair, appreciate the comment.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of the Villa fans have been coming out saying a lot of crap today, and it's like, come on,
yeah.
really?
I know a couple of Villa fans from old. One especially I used to work with, and they were decent people, right? But yeah, so I suppose it's like all clubs in the Premier League. They attract arseholes.
You always get a section of fans, don't you? You always get a section.
It's like with Arsenal. It's the youngsters, isn't it? It's the youngsters largely. By the way, talking about recall, let's talk about what we heard Carlton Cole say on the way home last night. He said Potter is looking to recall some of the youngsters from their loans, and there's one player that we could desperately need at the moment, and I've got no doubt that Potter could use him. Because let me just remind you what Potter does, and we saw that with Jimmy Somerville last night. What he does is he puts them in a position where he thinks their greatest attributes are going to benefit them and they're going to shine, and it kind of conceals their weaker side. Yeah. Now everything Jimmy did last night, everything Crescencio did last night was fantastic, and that was just moving him from left to right. It was genius. Nobody else would have thought of that. I'm sure of it.
I don't think any fan ever called it out, did they? Me included.
No. So so I got no doubt that if he looks at what we've got out on loan, we've got Earthy out there. I don't know. He can't get in the side of Bristol City at the moment, I don't think. But Potts again is tearing up in the Championship. It's like Portsmouth's best player. How can you fail to be impressed? I mean, I was impressed just watching him in the pre-seasons when we had a really shit pre-season. But again, he didn't get a second glance, did he?
I think he's definitely worth a chance. He really is.
And how bad was Soler last night when he come on? He just looked knackered, didn't he? And he'd only just come on.
I mean, that shot as well, I think that just kind of pulls the icing on the cake for his performance, wasn't it? I think he had about 20, 30 yards over the bar. Bloody awful shot. Quite possibly up there with Danny Ings' little swivel and shot with his left foot that went, awful.
Yeah, by the way, we do welcome opposition fans onto this channel. I don't like slagging them off, because I know, look, underneath every set of fans, and I even include Spurs and Arsenal in this, because a lot of my family are like Spurs and Arsenal and West Ham, things like that, right? But there are reasonable Arsenal fans out there and Tottenham fans, but then you've got this younger mob who are just social media. They just antagonise. Like that geezer who was on West Ham on Arsenal Fan TV at the beginning of the season. He's saying, "I don't know how anyone can support West Ham, man. They've never won anything." It's like, you don't know why people support football clubs, do you, mate? That's it.
Yeah, no. I think there's a lot of supporters out there, and it's not about going to games. They don't even watch the actual games. They don't even watch the games on TV. They know nothing about football, and they just feel the need just to go on there and just, do you know what I mean? Just be keyboard warriors, whatever you want to call them.
They are keyboard warriors.
Too many of them around.
He plays the same side as Kilman. You're absolutely right. However, Bizzle, I think Kilman's going to end up playing in the middle of a three. Yeah, and I think Aguerd will be to the left of him, and please God, to Devo.
Well, if he comes back,
I mean, that is a fucking expensive free centre halves there, isn't it? You got 30 million Aguerd, you got 40 million Kilman, and then you got, I think, 40 million to Devo, haven't you? That's 110 million.
I think he's around
three
that
centre
mark,
halves right there, and then you got 20 million, I think, with Mavropanos, rightfully the cheapest one. A bottom feeder club has picked Moyes up. Yeah, I swear he was waiting for us. Because that only happened after he... And look, Moyes complained about, Steiten talking to other managers behind my back. You just did it to Daesh, and you did it to Bilic, and you did it to Pellegrini. You're totally dishonest, mate. Yeah.
Well, he said, I'm not being funny, David Moyes said he didn't want to join a club at the bottom of the Premier League. Well, you've done it, mate.
No, you have.
Because again, kind of maybe he was waiting for West Ham, but the one good thing about this, Gal, is that you don't ever have to mention to me one more time that Moyes is coming back.
I know. I got sick of saying that, but I couldn't relax until he wasn't coming back, right? I couldn't do it. How many CB partnerships of two righties? So I don't know what that means. West Ham massive.
How many centre-back
partnerships of two righties? Two right-footed players.
Two right-footed players, yeah.
I think Kilman's pretty two-footed, don't he? So, right, Claire's priced them out. Look, I think this is right. Get one of them little things out of the supermarket you price up tins with, yeah? Souček, 15 million on the middle of his forehead. Soufal, 8 million. Part of the January sale held at West Ham. Kudus, I'll tell you what, the amount of benefit we're getting at Kudus at the moment, as long as we get the right price for him, that's fine. It'll be hopefully reinvested correctly.
I don't think he's going to go this Jan, Gal.
No,
I don't think he will, actually.
I think
if Lopetegui was still here, I think he
you know
would,
what, I think he's lost so much form that people ain't looking at him, right? Yeah, I think Liverpool and Arsenal, they're going to look at players and say, is that player going to make a difference? And Man City somehow are in the market to spend an absolute fortune again. So what, have they been let off of all those charges? I don't know. Bonds and Martin were two right-footed players, so why would two left-footed? Yeah, look, I suppose it only came into it because of the defensive situation that we had with Moyes, where the defence was always under the cosh. I don't suppose it matters so much if they've got a little bit of time on their hands, like they did in the first half yesterday, arguably. And it was hold on. Yeah, so I don't think it matters as well if the players are quality. I think they can adapt. I do think right now that we really need to get these positions sorted. Yeah, well, look, it's Sullivan's fault that we've sorted the manager out 11 days into January. You know, with just over half of the transfer window to go. We've got 18 days to go. So what is it going to be? We tried at the end again. Or is he going to give them the players he needs? Because I'll tell you why it could be we tried. Because we've got a load of players out injured, and when they come back, we'll probably be okay. But, you know, they'll probably be expecting him to support magic tricks. And now they've seen he can use youth players, they might be using that. I wouldn't put it out, you know. Honestly, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but I do. I wouldn't put it past Sullivan to not spend very much money in this January, if any at all, and we end up with a couple of loans.
No, I think we have to bring in players, Gal. We have to, and maybe I think with Potter coming in, maybe he mentioned that, you know, prior to coming in, that, you know, on the provision that we do actually go out and sign some players, because you know, no manager's going to come in. No,
right? Because I didn't mention this, Claire.
I didn't think he was Ginger.
I know Ginger when I see one. It's Ginger, right? But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what I'm saying then. Talking about Ginger players.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Yeah. So no, it doesn't sound like me. Look, it was just
Gary's a nutter. He's an absolute nutter. He's an animal.
Yeah, I got riled, Bill. I got riled. I was very, very happy walking along, chatting with Chris, and I got riled. But I didn't do anything. All I've done was give him a bit of mouth.
Gary started it. He's a nutter. He's a West Ham ultra, Gary. He just goes nuts in the stand. He does.
Black and everything. You know?
Yeah.
Hope the Villa do well. Like to see his so-called top six get broken up. Yeah, look, I don't mind Villa. They're all right.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
A little bit. I think, look, and our crowd yesterday, I thought were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic up there. You know,
we haven't said enough about that, actually, Gary, because that was so good to hear. I mean, I've obviously been to a lot of away games this season as well, but I do think yesterday, because we had the whole of the upper tier, we had a portion of the lower tier as well. The only downside to that is that when you got kind of like sections of the fans starting off songs, it kind of is a bit imbalanced sometimes. It's like you start one song and another one's kind of going like. But I'll tell you what, the atmosphere was fantastic, and we completely owned that. Like from an atmosphere point of view, we owned it last night. It was only until Villa, you know, scored their second goal that they decided to suddenly start singing. You know, it was actually kind of embarrassing. I thought Villa actually had decent support, but after listening to them yesterday, they were in general, they were pretty.
I'll tell you what they were doing, which really depresses me. You know, Palace do those songs without lyrics, where they just do rhythmic sounds and there ain't any words. Songs at football must have words, to my mind. It's a minimum requirement. And that ultra culture that's set in, they all do it. Arsenal do it as well. And now Villa do it. And there was one time yesterday where Villa was singing. I think it was when we were winning 1-0 in the second half, right? Villa was singing, top of their voices in the whole end, and we were right next to the whole end. And there was a massive chorus of bubbles that broke out, right? Upper and lower tier in the Doug Ellis, the deadly Doug Ellis stand. And literally, they just shut up. They went totally quiet. They sat down again. It's a bit bad, really, isn't it?
I'll tell you, I say it time and time and time again. I'll repeat myself over this. but we have got unquestionably the best away support out there. I genuinely think that we do, and that's not just me being biased. I see it, I feel it all the time. You know, it's
two guys. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I've always thought that. I'm going to do a show at some point on the inferiority complex that some fans have got of supporting West Ham. My dad always used to say that West Ham is one of the best supported clubs in the country, and I always believed it. And I only saw evidence of it when we went to the FA Cup final in 2006, because there was as many people outside the ground as there was inside the ground, and for the playoff finals before. And then Prague, which was ridiculous, where we had so many people over there, both to watch the ground and watch the game in the ground, but to go in the fan zone. And then back here, we had events everywhere. You know, had events in clubs in Prague. There was so many people. And then there was a bus tour the next day. There was even more people. I'm telling you, this is a club of untapped potential, and it's being kept down. It's being kept back by owners, you know, consecutive owners who have done this. Because it's the sort of thing my dad used to say back in the 70s, 80s, right? It's never been any different. But I firmly believe if the right owner got hold of this club, there is untapped potential here that maybe you wouldn't get if you bought a Spurs. You buy a Spurs, it's going to cost you a couple of billion or so to start with, right? Before you start to look at a return on your investment. Well, how are you going to make a profit? How many years until you make that ROI, right? Whereas West Ham, a relative snip in the scheme of things, and you can take a club that's like, well, at the moment anyway, middle, you know, halfway up the league, lower half maybe, cup every 40 years. I mean, that is massive untapped potential. And when you consider we still fill a bloody 62,000 seater stadium every game, all right, a lot of tourists, but hey, recall Callum Marshall. What do you reckon?
No,
is he doing all right?
No, he's not. I mean, he's got. You know, I say he's doing all right. I think he's got a few goals for them, but he's not always starting games. I don't think you need to recall him. It's not to say that he won't be a player in the future. I don't think he's ready to, you know, have an impact in our team at the minute, mate. But then, having said that, we don't have many strikers. So if we didn't sign any strikers, then probably would need to recall him. But not for me at the moment.
So it was Roy. Yeah, hello, Roy. Yeah, I remember you now. Yeah, when we walked into that services, Roy, there was a guy that came out clutching a box of donuts, and he said, "It's a free-for-all in there." And I thought, what? So we went in, it was shut. There was nothing open, right? Apart from a W.H. Smith. So we filled ourselves up with like crisps and sweets and monsters and stuff like that, as you do.
Unsurprisingly.
And then as we were coming out, the guy's leaving again with another box of Krispy Kremes, right? I said, oh, you've had them Krispy Kremes away, have you? He said, yeah. Got another 2 boxes in the car. So that's what he said. It was a heist. It was a Krispy Kreme heist.
Yeah, it was.
Police are looking for 36 donuts today. Yeah. You must have seen that, though, Roy. You must have seen that going on, that crime. I think you two got the right idea. Get down to the shed, talk about footy. Yeah, look, honestly, I've always passed my time, and I think you as well, Chris. Right? It's
bloody cold in my cabin, though. It's a bit cold here tonight. I know. It's like a sauna in here. My heater's not really doing it for me at the minute because it's bloody cold outside.
Get yourself a grown-up heater, then. You got that stupid little fucking fan heater, haven't you? Yeah,
it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. We're not doing a good job tonight.
I know.
Do you know what? I just realised I've got it on its lowest heater. That's why.
Yeah, right, I agree with that, Danny. And by the way, I'll meet people, but I'm really crap with names. I'm sorry, I'm really crap with names. I don't mean to be rude. I need to meet someone, even in work. Right, I need to meet him about 20 times before I remember their name. I'm just awful.
You know the best way of dealing with that, Gary. Yeah, when you meet someone, it's a fact. When you meet someone for the first time, you've got to say their name 3 times in the first 30 seconds. If you do that, you typically remember their name.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Well, not for everyone.
Well, no, you said apparently. So you haven't tried it?
Of course, I've tried it. You know what I do for a job, so I do.
Yeah.
And I
have you tried it? Does it work?
Of course I do. Well, I don't kind of by default I do it now, because when I used to go to the States a lot, I was told that is the best way of remembering names. And I'll never forget, there's a guy and he had about 50 people in this kind of auditorium, and he said, right, he goes, I'm gonna remember everyone's name here. And he used that concept and he got everyone's name spot on. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I don't think I could do it 50 people, but apparently it works. Yeah. You say the name 3 times.
In future, if I meet anyone from the channel, I've met a few people a few times and I remember them, right? But if I meet anyone from the channel in future, or when I meet the next person from the channel, I'm going to say your name 3 times in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't mean he's nuts or anything, but apparently it works.
Yeah. So, Chris, do you think we'll maybe get 2 players? Gary and Chris, do you think we'll maybe get 2 players in this window? Outside of loans, I think we've got to sell. I think what's going to happen is, I agree with Chris. I don't think Kudus is going to go until the summer. Unless Liverpool and Arsenal are really worried about Man City and they do some massive business and see them taken off. But I thought they were too far away already, Man City. I don't know. But I think as far as getting a bit of money, we could get a bit of money for Emerson. We could get some for Souček. And Soufal a tiny bit. We'll probably get a million for Danny Ings from Championship Club or something.
I think he'll go for free, Danny Ings. I think because if his contract's running low, we just need to get a shot of him because his salary's too high. We bring in some replacements. We'll let him go. And I think even Soufal, I don't think you're going to get too much from him either, mate. Honestly, I don't.
Do you reckon Moyes would be interested in a second-hand James Ward-Prowse?
Yeah, I think he probably would do actually. But actually, right now, I wouldn't be against the idea of him coming back to West Ham for the second half of the season, if it means that. Yeah.
Obsidian. I thought this was cancelled. Obsidian. Oh, you're gonna have to go back and watch it. It was a disaster, mate. It was a disaster. It was cancelled because the platform I was using was shit. I don't have to redo it. Anyway, I will never use that platform again. I'm here forever now. I think one they need to be promoted is Junior Robinson. I've heard a lot of good things about him actually, but I'm sure Potter will get around and see all these players. Like Carlton said last night, he's taken a very close interest. Carlton sounded so happy on the radio. It was this geezer, by the way. It was this caller. I thought Potts cannot be recalled. Maybe he can't. I don't know. But I think some of them can, some of them can't. But there was this caller that called in. Chris went to turn him off, and I said, "No, leave him. I've got to hear it," because he called in. He sounded like he didn't have 2 brain cells to run together. He said, "I've seen enough. Put her out." Right. And Carlton just started taking the piss. He's going, "Are you for real? Are you for real, mate?" He said he's only had like 1 training session. He said he's had long enough. Get him out. Right.
But really Talk Sport, they just bring in a bunch of fucking mollies, don't they? They always.
I think sometimes they're sponsored, these people.
I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It just winds me up. I tend not to listen to it that much these days, but because it's such a long drive back last night, what sod it.
I think he'll have to pay 20 million or at least 18 to 20 million to get his man because he's 28, I think, and Souček is in his prime.
I think he is 28, 29. He's around that age, yeah.
Yeah, so he's not finished. I mean, don't suit our team, but he'll suit Moyes' up at Everton. He'll build the team around him. It gets 5 years. Like if he's 28, he's 5 years out of him.
It'd be the first name. It'll be the first name on his transfer list of players he wants to sign. Absolutely.
Potts would definitely give us legs in the middle. Some people are calling him better than Declan Rice. The one thing I noticed about him as well is he runs like Declan Rice. He's got the same gait. But he's a very good player. And his dad was bloody good as well, wasn't he? So, he was the smallest centre-half you're ever going to get. But he was a good player. Were you there when Pottsy scored that goal? If Skulls is anything to go by, get the academy lads back in the squad. And now, and it should have happened. I mean, Divin Obama, when I spoke to Potsy and Keane, Divin Obama was not even one of the top talents, right? Let's get it real. That's why they didn't really worry about him, if I'm being honest. But they reeled off at least 5 or 6 when I was speaking to them. I forget all the names now, who are top talents. Yeah. And I don't think that list has changed. I think it's been added to.
Well, the obvious 3 that would definitely mention were Casey, Skulls, or Alford, and who else am I missing? Potts. They would 4. That was 4 of the 5, wasn't it?
Yeah. But again, playing up against Villa away, a Champions League side, he didn't think twice about putting a youngster as a wing-back. And he didn't think twice about putting someone who I thought was a little bit maybe not good enough for the Premier League, Somerville. I thought he looked good, but he never... Last night he looked like a Premier League player. I'd never really seen that before.
He was best player on the pitch last night.
By him. He was fantastic. And he brought the best out and could do something. If he can do that with players and actually find their best position and put them into... Who knows what he can do with all these raw materials, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he's got a lot of resources at his disposal. Just got to start using them, and I think he will.
Ralph enjoying the sun. Potts would play his art out. Yeah, he absolutely would. I mean, Potsy Senior is still very, very passionate about West Ham, as you'd expect.
Well, he works at West Ham, and not only that, right? I mean, this is the thing; it's going to be in their DNA and their blood. Because if you look at the Potts family, a couple of other boys, Dan Potts didn't quite make it, did he? I think did he go to Luton? There was a couple of Potts boys, weren't there, that didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
If he's got half a chance, you can imagine he will absolutely work his socks off. He will. I've no doubts about it. That would mean a lot to him to get into that team.
Yeah. No, I look, obviously, and there are a lot of kids. A lot of those kids are actually West Ham fans.
Yeah.
Which I think is just so brilliant, because imagine if you bought 3 or 4 of them, maybe even 5 of them through. By next season, we could start the season with all that homegrown talent, young enthusiasm mixed with some top quality, slightly older talent, some older, wiser heads. You need a squad, obviously. But this is what I can't understand. When you look at the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, what they've been doing the last couple of seasons in the cup competitions, they've been blooding youngsters round after round after round en masse. We've had the best youngsters and we ain't been doing it. It's maddening. It's like a missed opportunity, right? Moyes, at one point, you know, I got to tell you this. At one point, now I can't remember which player this was, but he wanted to bring one of the players on. Let's just say that, right? One of the coaches said, "Why don't you bring so and so on?" And Moyes said, "What position does he play?" That's how little interest he had. Yeah, no, Ian. Yeah, they were, but they always are. And I got a video from Dodsey, which unfortunately I had them loaded on the other platform. I ain't got them loaded on this one, for Christ's sake. But there you go. But yeah, it was fantastic. I love being in away fans in a away crowd like that. But even, you know, when we got dumped at Fulham that time, we did a show after that. And I was talking about, it felt like old school West Ham, which is the defeatist West Ham, right? It's the one where you just laugh when you lose. You laugh at yourselves. Gallows humour. But I think we do that stuff the best. I'd like to not have to do that stuff. But I must admit, it made me feel warm inside, like the Bovril we had last night, Chris. You like
it? Was lovely. I've had Bovril since I was a little kid, mate. It was lovely, mate. Love a bit of Bovril.
Yeah.
The concourse was tight last night. Jesus Christ, it was tight. Honestly, it was horrible trying to get out of that, wasn't it?
Well, it was bad enough before the game. At half time, he had no chance. Yeah. And the little entrances getting out at the end as well. Mad. Rather have a Lewis Dunk than an Aguerd. Well, I think it cost a fortune, but maybe if we got money for Aguerd, then Lewis Dunk would be the answer. But I think Potter's going to create more Lewis Dunks. Don't you worry about that.
Do you reckon Potter will go after any ex-Brighton players? Current Brighton players, should I say?
I don't know whether he does that, because he didn't do it at Chelsea, did he?
Well, he didn't need to, because he had a better squad of players at Chelsea, didn't he? He had too many players at Chelsea, so he didn't really need to sign anyone.
Yeah, who knows? It went belly up. Indeed, it did.
Wouldn't mind Mitoma if you had a look at him. He's a good player.
Yeah, Moyes is a toad. Yes, he is. Honestly, you know, we're talking about going to it's March the 15th, isn't it? Everton away. We're talking about going to that because it's the last chance to go to Goodison Park. I've been there a few times and lost. You've never been there, nor has Fred, nor has Ross. So might try and get along to that one. It would be nice, because we've seen what Graham Potter does to David Moyes. I think by that point we'll be ready to give him a see into.
I hope so. I do hope so.
I think so. Randy says, I think we still have to be clever in the market. Yeah, we bloody do. I mean, we've got 18 days to get all this business done and give him a fairly balanced squad, you know. The reason we've only got this little time is because little Sully sat on his hands because he didn't want to blame Lopetegui, because that would mean he was wrong. And now he's still not blaming Lopetegui.
Well, I'd imagine also that some of our transfer targets that we were linked with for the first week of Jan will probably have changed now that Potter's in. I'm sure he must do.
I think what we've got here is a dispute from Obsidian Curse. No way, only 15 for Souček. No, you've got to drive a hard deal, right? Put Moyes pay for the player, Obsidian, right?
That's what he's saying.
He's saying exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, well done. 30 at least. Let me read it properly. No way, only 15 for Souček. Now Moyes is back in the game. 30 at least. There you go. I did it justice. Second time. Right. Dewsbury Hall would be a good signing, actually. That's the one that they got from Leicester, isn't it? And
he's only played about 6 games for him.
We could get him on loan. I think the situation is we've got 2 international loans, but we're allowed 2 domestic loans as well. So we could get that and that Chuck Wamaker, whatever his name is, 2 energetic midfielders. Again, if we can't bring Potsy or anyone back, but I think Dewsbury Hall's a ready to go Premier League, decent quality player.
Yeah, he's a good player. Chukwuemeka, coincidentally, I think his only goal for Chelsea was he scored against us. Yeah, he did.
Oh, well, it's like I always say, those players that always score against you, let's get them in our team, you know. Do you reckon he will look to get Emerson back in the team? No. I think he'll persist with Scholes. I think Scholes has earned himself the next game against Fulham. Also, I think we're going to try and offload Emerson while we can get some money for him. Why wouldn't you? Juventus want him. I don't think he's a good defender, Emerson, and I don't even think he's that good going forward. I think he tied up well with Paqueta down that side, but that stopped happening halfway through last season, didn't it? It stopped being a thing.
Well, yeah, but the Paqueta was not playing on that side, though, was he either? Well, it's certainly this season he hasn't been linking with Emerson as much because he changed position.
Yeah. Ralph, enjoying the sun, got hit with half a brick at Villa in '76, but they are old school fans. Well, that proves it, Ralph. That proves it. You got hit with a brick. Yeah. Caduce got to prove himself again. I think he does, you know.
They all do, though, Gow. Every player needs to prove themselves again for a new manager.
Yeah. And I think to be fair, first half they were, but I think they were woefully out of condition, the players. I think Soufal contract ends this summer. Didn't we extend it by? No, I don't think we've extended it yet. I think we've got an option to extend. Why we can't extend him for another year? No. Much as I love him, you know. It's like giving Trevor Brooking another contract, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Do you reckon maybe Ings might go to Everton as well? Maybe we can throw him in as part of the deal with Suchek.
This is a point, right? We've been calling Moyes just simply Moyes. He's Moyes OBE now. Right, so get it right, Chris. Have some respect. God's sake.
Not happening, mate. What about Ginger? No, I'm not going to say it, but yeah, no.
Yeah. Sulky has already used Sean to say we're skinned. Well, look, I think 3 days before the transfer window was when they released the accounts. 1 day before the transfer window, Sean was saying how many commitments they've got, as if, you know, all the debt, all the future debt that's on the balance sheet for the players that we're going to have to pay in the future. Like, that means we've got no money now, apparently. Well, so they kind of got their excuses out their early doors, which is why, and also because I want to end on a high note, I'm going to play you Canning Town Lens little thing that I put at the beginning of the last show. It is
very
quality.
Good. Yeah, it's very good.
Quality. This platform might do it justice. The other one probably had the bloody music out of sync with a picture. About a time Everton were relegated. No, but I don't think they are. I think what's going to happen there, if I was to foresee it, they're going to move into this fucking great big stadium. Beautiful stadium, by the way. They're going to charge them more money to get in to watch football in that stadium. So it ain't going to be like the old place where they're paying $2 bob, right? And they just want to stay up. Now they're going to set their sights higher and expect to be at least entertained, I would imagine. You got to bear in mind, the season ticket holders who were there last time Moyes was there, you know, what do you reckon? There's probably 60, 70% of the same season ticket holders. And then you're going to add another 20,000 to that number. And you're probably going to have a load of tourists in there who like to be entertained as well, basically. Not that I care. I don't think we'll see Fulkrug back this season. I think that's a torn... it is a ruptured hammy, isn't it?
I mean, you're talking minimum of 8 weeks, right? 8 to 11 weeks.
So. No, not for a rupture. That's months. I mean, he won't be back till next season.
But is it ruptured though, Gal, or is it just a bad tear?
I don't know yet. Gary done the figures. We have no money for transfers. Bang on FFP. Yeah, but I think we'll bring some money in. But I just don't know whether we've got time to do it now. So I think the one thing I'll say, and look, we must end this show. It's been going on for ages. Thank you for everybody who's come across and stuck with us, because it was a fucking disaster to start with, I must admit. But I'm all calmed down and happy again now. Thank God. Gary and Chris, if you ever thought of doing a West Ham history show, it'd be very interesting, especially for a young 59-year-old man like me. Well, yes, we're going to do lots of this kind of content that West Ham fans will love, right? But we've got loads of different formulas to do it, and I think we've got lots of people who are willing to do it as well, willing to help us, and we're going to be doing quite a lot like that.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a show which, again, because of diaries and everything, has been put back a while. But you all know Nigel Khan, but I've got Rob Banks in there as well. He's a friend of mine, and they're both like the unofficial historians of West Ham, and they know so much between them. I won't tell you what the show is, but they've never really known each other, strangely. They fought each other together when Russie B got them into a quiz once, and it went down to a tie break. And then I think Nigel won, but Rob was questioning the tiebreak question or something like that, right? It was so it was like Ide and Dan as like comical enemies in the history world, right? And so I thought, God, I can create a rivalry here between Rob and Nigel. And the trouble is, after sitting down and chatting with them for a few weeks, they were finishing each other's sentences. It was pathetic, right? So it was like nauseating. Right, but yes, so I'm looking at all that in answer to your question. That stuff interests me as well.
Yeah, but we've spoken a lot about it. Yeah, we've definitely spoken a lot about that.
I want to put a twist on it, and also the era that a lot of us come from, or the eras that a lot of us come from. I don't want to only focus on the old stuff, because if you're young, for instance, we're not all our age, right? Chris, you're not even my age, but if you look back, if you look at someone like Freddie, for instance, your son, he's 18, right? He's 18.
18? You're joking. He's only 16.
Oh, 16.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I thought he was 18. Right, anyway.
No, God, no.
His history to him, a long time ago to him, will be like 6-8 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
He remembers Upton Park, so I took him to Upton Park, obviously, but sadly not as much as I would have liked to, because obviously we moved, but yeah.
Yeah, but that would be the old days to him, that's what I'm saying. So depending what age you are, you know what I mean? History's kind of linear, I suppose, with your age, isn't it? So you just have to, and I mean, I can't remember that much about when I was really, really young, but there are those times which are your highlights of being a fan, which you always have passionate memories of. Like for me, it was like the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, maybe late 80s. Yeah. So the 80s.
Early 60s when it came.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. So Rob Banks has got he works hard on those videos actually.
I like them. They're really good. They are.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff there. If you like that era that I just mentioned, he basically did. Oh God, it's a long series of shows, right? But it takes you all through the John Lyle era and then onto there. But anyway, you know, Rob has got certain, you know, he talks about things. If you've read any of his books and stuff like that, you'll know what he's like. But he's got a certain take on things. Nigel has got a shed full of artifacts, basically, and so sometimes, you know, Rob can say something where he's bang on, but Nigel can kind of add to it because he's got some sort of artifact that builds on the story, and that's what makes the two of them quite, you know, pretty well suited, I think. So again, going back to the principles of his channel, I don't want to fucking kill people, right? This is supposed to be a channel that we do that don't interfere with work and stuff like that. But we're kind of getting it to that stage and getting regular material out. But the same applies for the guests we get on regularly as well. I want them to want to do it. Yeah, Rob Banks has written a trilogy of 4 books, I think. Right? I think that's just, yeah. What's a trilogy of 4 books? What is 4 books called?
One of them's The Irrational Hatred of Luton. I know that I read that when I was a kid. I remember that one.
I think there's 4 in it. It was the that was Barry Green, isn't there? There's the Barry Green one. The one that he released. Well, I think there's 4. I think there's 4 books. But An Irrational Hatred of Luton was the big one.
Yeah.
That everybody read back in the day, because it was like fanzine time when everybody read before everybody started staring at their phones. That was really successful, actually, that one.
You said that just as I was doing it now.
Yeah. What's this? Is this wise words from Foxy the Screaming? History dilutes itself every time it's repeated. Yeah, it's true. Very philosophical. You're absolutely right.
It's this one here. I had to read the caption to remember your names. Say it 3 times. It works. It definitely works.
Foxy the Screaming, Foxy the Screaming, Foxy the Screaming.
You remember that? That's hard to go. Danny Ings to Millwall. Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? You know, I know he's not done well for us, but you can't put Danny Ings at Millwall.
Don't send me to Millwall, please.
Yeah, it's harsh.
He didn't accept to move to Southampton before the season, believe it or not.
Walked past me in Stansted last month, yeah.
I was there last month. Did you jab him in the ribs when you walked past him, or did you
give him a
menacing stare?
This is interesting because, I was at Stansted last month, but if I was looking really worse for wear, then it was when I was coming home because I hadn't slept for about a week. But if I was looking fresh, I was on my way.
Europe trip, wasn't it? European trip.
Yeah.
A lot of drink past your lips that week, didn't it?
No.
So we got right. We're going to finish at 1:30. By the way, we've done almost 2 hours, including the
1:30. It's another half an hour ago.
No. 1:23. We'd finish at 1:30. Right.
Okay.
So quadruple. It's a quadruple of books. Nah. A quadrilogy. A could be actually Obsidian Curse. It could be. I know you just made that up. It could be. That gets another vote. Quadrilogy. Yeah, I know a trilogy is free, and that was a funny thing because you remember who's the guy that wrote So Long and Thanks for All the Fish and the thingy books. Jules Gently. No. Are you giving me a blank stare, Chris?
You lost me, mate. I don't know who wrote that. I'm listening to you.
What was that called? What was that called? That was a trilogy of 4 books. Hence, it was a subtle joke. Yeah. It was a subtle joke. What was that called?
Sorry, mate. It's completely gone over.
You don't know. You don't know what I'm referring to.
What are you talking
Saga of 4 books. You don't know what I'm.
Books.
No. Hang on. Bloody hell. Have you not? Yeah, Life, the Universe, and Everything. So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. Yeah. What was the? Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, of course. Fucking escaped me for a minute. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? Yeah, that was where the galaxy's most powerful supercomputer took several thousand years to calculate the answer to Life, the Universe, and Everything, and it come up with the answer 42. Right, after calculating for so many years, that was the thing. Funny, eh? You had to be there. Right, Douglas Adams was a fucking genius, though. He really was. Saga is who I holiday with. You fucker, Richard. People having a dig at me now, Chris.
I don't know what's going on. I'm just reading the chats here. What's that? So, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I'm just reading some of these comments. Many rubbing their hands at the thought of offloading Maguire. I thought he was staying for another year. I thought they'd exercised the right to stay.
It began with Everton. Do
you reckon? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, Moisey loves him, doesn't he? Yeah. Moisey loves old Slabhead, doesn't he? Yeah.
Can we right, we're on we've got a couple of minutes to go. What do you think is going to happen with? I'm going to open up the chat, put the chat across to the overlay now. Tell me, give me an idea, you people, of what you think is going to happen next Tuesday. Because I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know what's going to happen.
Tough one,
I've got faith. I've got faith that, like the guy at Brentford, like Thomas Frank, I think he's made of similar stuff, Graham Potter, in that he's intelligent. I know, Richard, it's only banter. I didn't take it personally, honest. Right. Not like a ginger bloke outside a bloody.
I was going to say he does take it, but if you're face to face, go every one in a ruck.
I've known a lot of nice gingers in the past. Nothing wrong with gingers, right? I'm not being personal. I feel ginger, right? So yes, what was I going to say? I think he's very intelligent, and he can. He will not lay down and die without a fight or a strategy to try and win a game, which is what Thomas Frank tries to do. The team will be, under Thomas Frank, it will often be better than the sort of sum of its parts, because of the way he organises and the way he plays to stop the opposition. And I think we were on our, as we saw yesterday, right? We lost 1 player. We were just about getting by. We lost 2 players. We were fucked. That is where our squad is at the moment. So the next few days, we ain't going to bring players in before Tuesday. That ain't going to happen. Not ready to play. So he's got to go looking around the squad at the youth team and who we got out on loan who can be recalled, maybe Ward-Prowse, whatever, and see who he can bring back in order to play against Fulham on Tuesday, because we are short on numbers at the moment. He's got to do something. He's got to pull a rabbit out of the hat. He's walked into a minefield here. Also, what he could have done last night is he could have taken the easy option, and he could have said, look, I've just arrived. I ain't had time. This is what most managers would have done. They would have watched that game from the stand yesterday and see us get beat 5-0. And then you can be the hero because you turn it around, right? But when he did that yesterday, not only did we almost get something out of it, on another day, bad referee, good refereeing decision, whatever, maybe it would have gone our way. After the game, he didn't even make excuses for not having loads of time to work with the players. He just said it as it was, and I really loved that.
He did. It's going to be, the Fuller game is going to be, it's a tough one because we don't really have any options up front apart from Danny Ings. So the question is, do we play Danny Ings, or do we look at doing something differently? Like, i.e., could we play, it's won't rule it out. Are you going to play Kudus up front? Are you going to play Guilherme up front? Maybe, because we don't really have too many other options. I don't think Danny Ings is the one, mate. But then, having said that, I could get proved completely wrong, and Danny Ings starts and scores. You know, that's what football can do sometimes to you, completely surprise you. But I must admit, I'm not really. I just don't want to see Danny Ings up front on Tuesday. I don't. I want to see a bit of pace up there. And so maybe playing Kudus up there, and I never thought I'd say it, but bearing in mind the lack of options that we have, I think he'll cause any defenders problems. I do. So that could be an option if you get Guilherme on the right, for instance, and maybe get Kudus, playing as a striker and Paqueta behind it. I don't know, but I think whatever it is, we're limited in terms of what we can do, aren't we? So I don't know, but I want to see Scholes start. I'm with you on that one. I want to see Scholes start again. I think he deserves it after that game.
I think I think that would have been the first time he's seen Guilherme almost kick a ball, right? And he might look at him and what again, like he did with Somerville, he might look at him and think, well, you're actually quite good at this. Why don't I put you over here? Right? It might be something completely different. He put a lot of he's all he had left yesterday for the round holes was a load of square pegs.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So look, I've got a good feeling. I'm going into Tuesday optimistic. I'm going to go on Tuesday. I think we're going to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0 West Ham on Tuesday. We're going to win. What do you reckon, Chris? What do you reckon, people in the chat? Go on, you're on the screen. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think. I've seen a couple of optimistic predictions already.
So, I think scoring a goal is just. I'm not going to go 3-1. That's getting a bit of a joke now. Me saying 3-1 all the time. I'm going to say. I can always see us conceding a goal, actually, but I'm going to go 1-0, 1-0, 2-1. I don't know. No, do you know I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham, 1-0 West Ham, and I'll take that. That'd be a good result for us. Yeah.
Well, look, I'd settle for any win, and I think if Fulham play well and we were to nick a draw out of it, again, it wouldn't be the worst result. A draw wouldn't be a bad result against Fulham. I will take it now, bear in mind where we are with the squad, but. I'm going to go win. I've just got a good feeling about it. I think the mood in the squad is improving and we've still got some top quality players. I reckon, personally, he should put Kudus up top. Because I think as long as you don't expect him to play a number 9 role where he's got better defenders, as long as you're going to give him ball to, if he can play on the shoulder of a defender maybe and you give him balls to run onto, I think that's where you get,
Claire's copying me.
No, it was it? It was left, wasn't it? Yeah, you could take it. But there's a lot of positivity going on here. No one's predicted we're going to lose.
No, I'm going with Claire. Claire's taken my 3-1 scoreline. So yeah.
I agree with Claire, actually. 5-0 West Ham. That's it. It's getting better and better. Getting more optimistic as it goes on. Yes.
Something that did make me laugh, actually, and it's a bit of a piss take at me, but I've recently got into this kind of mode of saying it's coming home because you started me on this, and I started continuing saying it's coming home.
Didn't you?
I got loads of people private messaging me saying, because I said it on a video yesterday, and someone said the only thing that's coming home is you. It's true.
Fucking quality. That's a quality response.
Do you know what? That I did find funny, but it's more a case of some of the other dickheads on there, But that was quite funny, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it's true.
Right, we're going to stop it there, but I want you to stay for a minute, right? I want you to stay for a minute, people, because I ballsed it up so badly earlier. I don't want to balls it up again. CanningTownLen.com, where you can go for all your finest paintings and artworks that he does so well. He also makes little cartoons, and every now and then he brings one out, and it's just bang on the money. And I've got one to end the show tonight. I started the other show with it. I'm going to end this one with it, right? Absolutely bloody hilarious. Sorry. So I'm going to play that. Please, can you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please could you subscribe to the Bobby Moore Stand and give the video a like and hit the bell notification icon and etc. Sorry for the technical troubles earlier. Ridiculous. I'm going to stick with this platform now. It's nice and steady, stable. I like it. I'm used to using it as well. So Chris, thanks for weren't supposed to be this long, was it? Thanks for staying up late.
This is not late for me, mate. You know me, I'm a night owl. I'll probably be up for at least another 4 hours.
Oh, we'll carry on then.
It's this fucking monster, mate. Seriously. Every time last night I could not sleep. I was buzzing all night from Monster. I don't know how you sleep with it. Like people in the chat, Gary had, right, last night, a can of Monster on the way, a can of Monster on the way back, and a coffee on the way back. And bearing in mind, this is like midnight. And I thought I'll have a monster because I was driving. But yeah, by the time I got home, I was completely wide awake. I was laying in bed for a good hour and a half. I just couldn't sleep. Could not sleep.
I slept like a baby. I tell you, I had a lovely sleep last night. I can't tell you how good it was. It was enriching. Let me tell you.
Well.
Right. Anyway, thanks everybody. Here is Canning Town Lens special creation. Come on, you ones.
Well, why do you want to keep him staying here for? If he don't do what you say. Oh, he makes me sad. He makes me mad. He made me spend a lot of cash that I'll never raise. He's fooling around with you now. He upsets the coach and then he runs away. Oh, it's alright. I draw a list up tonight. Say we tried and now we work through the night. And what do we want to keep him started